determined to be the line in the sand, so to speak, because it's the 1st of September, and we had school board members who had children that were born on the 3rd of September, actually on our board, and we just kind of stuck with that as our policy being, September 1st. It's just there has to be some sort of delineation. There has to be some sort of date. But we have to go by the dates. The only thing I can think of. I mean, we have tested kids out before, I think, too, and it's a difficult decision.
Always.
Yeah, it is.
I know on the Dover side, we never have either, and we actually had a young lady who is currently, she's got her master's and she's a practicing attorney, and she was born at like 12:05 or 12 on September 1st, and she was a very smart girl, but I think the conversation with the family was that it's not just how smart you are, but also just age and size and the group that you hang out with, and they were very glad that we didn't vary didn't vary that
And,
policy.
Matt, you said in preparation, do my homework as well, listening to stories of educators as well as parents who've been on that side of the fence, and now we've discussed the more prevalent option in certain communities of redshirting your kindergartners, so not starting until 6 or sometimes 7 years old, just for some of those advantages later in life. But as I said, it was up to certainly the educators and professionals on board to see what happens.
So, is there any other thoughts?
The other thing we've always said is that, at least in the Wardsboro School historically, we never had a problem pushing kids forward. If a child comes in and we find out that they're, well above their peers after they start, they've been there 6 months, we're always giving the, I believe, just an option to the parent to push the kid forward academically. And that's happened on a few occasions.
And there is a 3-year-old program available to them.
Right.
So, it's not like it's an all or nothing, which it used to be. It used to be if you didn't make it into kindergarten, there was nothing for you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
I would just say having a deadline kind of takes obviously the decision making out of it, because who's making the decision? Is it the parents or is it the educators who determine to move forward back? Obviously everyone thinks their kid's a genius, but in terms of that, so that takes that decision out of it from either the educators or the parents. So I think that's a positive as well. And as Greg said, you always move them on.
The one thing I hate about it is that, one of the things I'm totally against is, the egg carton approach to education, which is, all the eggs that we get after September 1st go in this egg carton, and then we just move that egg carton through the system. And to me, that is so, I think we damage a lot of students because of that, because they are ready to learn and they can do more. And because they're in that egg carton, I know both schools have done a lot with kids that are excelling to bring in extra and to challenge them. And, I think with the IB program, and I'm really excited about the STEM and STEAM. So I'm okay with it now more than I was before when we had nothing for them at that younger age.
Right.
But again, it's just something to think about is, wouldn't it be great if, when a student was ready to learn, we bring them in and start learning them and then, move them on. And if it's, if when they're 15 or 16, they're ready to take some college classes, they can, or, take more classes that excite them, or have more opportunity for them to do stuff. But I think it's just a difficult thing. So he's making a request for us. So what you're basically, your opinion is that your child can't start because he's not old enough under the former Wardsboro.
Yes.
And
I'd rather ask for permission than try to squeak forgiveness later on.
yeah. So I think we need to make a decision as a board, as a River Valley board, because we don't have a policy. Do we want to allow his child who's misses by several days, less than a month, into the higher program? Tammy, let me ask you this: if the child comes in and the 3-year-old program is doing really well and is really advanced, do you give them extra days with the 4-year-olds, or do you do?
This is all new with us having a new program, so.
Matt, you've had a 3-year-old program for a couple of years.
Yeah, we haven't done it in my 3 years.
And why is that?
Maybe we haven't had the request, or we haven't had students that are demonstrating to us that there would be a need to advance.
But if that, both of you, if that happened, you would do other things to challenge that student.
Yeah.
We're not gonna hold the student back just because they're,
Because of their age.
yeah, we're not just
Yeah.
gonna say, well, this is a 3-year program and that's all you get, because that's the 8 card you
Right.
get.
No, I think the first step would be, and Tammy's been a preschool teacher, so you should answer this too, Mark. The first step would be that the teacher would identify something's different and then be in touch with the parents. As soon as she identified that, said, okay, this is the different track, this child is gonna need something, either more than we're providing or something else. So that would be a first step, I would think.
And from the Dover side, I believe we had the Dover preschool teacher in here to talk to us about some stuff. And didn't we broach this with her, and she felt that the age policy was pretty important to start with?
She did. Yeah, she did.
So I don't know how we go about this. I would think there's no motion required. Well, no, he's making a request. We don't have a policy. So I think we need to act on his request.
Can we act on it by setting a policy?
Yeah, but that's not fair to him, because he needs to know now, because school's gonna start before the policy becomes in effect.
But now, the sideline is you could also consider a policy that moves a date. Not that you have to do that on my account, but that does.
Right, well, we can change. Right, the policy can
Yep.
change.
I mean, we could postpone this, and while we have a discussion on the policy, then we could decide your case after that if you'd want to, and if you want to sit there and see how exciting school board meetings are, in case you feel like getting a petition and running some point in the future. You could.
Look when they show up.
I mean, it's a decent option, you should consider it, if you're willing to allow us to come up with a policy.
Yeah,
before-
again, I'm more apologetic that I'm coming to you a week before school opens.
Right.
And not as school had ended and kind of preparing ahead of time and to allow that. So I don't want you to feel under the gun on my account or on my son's account. So, you know, again, if it took time, it took time. It's the one thing, again, we talk about being in the small schools, is having that latitude from the administrators. And I've been able to see it firsthand with another child of mine, and being able to move throughout the classrooms to be able to get the teaching and learning combination together. So there isn't a bad answer in my book. Anyway,
Okay. So then, if that's okay, then why don't we hold off, let's have the policy discussion, and then whatever we decide in the policy will apply to his case. Is that fair?
We can do that?
Yeah. Yeah, because what we would require a vote, because the policy won't be in effect. But if we decide to change the date, then it changes. If we decide to make the policy different, and we'll just make the policy apply to his case.
Or we could vote on his request, but however, if the policy is different from his request, the new policy would apply.
But the new policy won't be in effect until sometime.
That's right.
At the beginning of October. That's the
true.
problem.
That's the problem, okay.
You know, because we have to discuss it tonight. If we vote to post it, to warn it tonight, then it's gotta be 2 weeks. So we wouldn't, and remember, we've agreed that we're always gonna do, both schools, we're gonna have anything of policy or procedure, and we won't meet Labor Day. So the next meeting would be in Dover, so we would be breaking our own little rule, which I have no problem, but it's a month away.
Are we,
Yeah.
are we talking about not providing an answer this evening?
No, we're talking about when we discuss the policy under new
Yeah.
business, age of admission, whatever we decide that policy that's gonna be posted,
Yeah,
we will apply that to his
Oh, I see,
situation.
I see.
So if
Okay.
we decide to have age of admission be that you have to be 100 years old on September 1st, we'll apply that to his case and tell him, we gotta wait till.
so we're gonna tell him tonight.
We'll tell him in a little while. We're just gonna discuss it when we get to
Just
that
won't be
part. of it.
ratified.
Right. And the policy won't be in effect.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
we'll tell him that, you know, that's what it'll be and he'll know. Or he can wait and get a call later. Do you mind sitting
You
around?
watch on TV, okay.
Yeah. You can be part of the award-winning show. Okay. Review and approve the minutes of the August 5th, 2019 meeting, and it really wasn't a meeting, it was a retreat. So I don't consider them really minutes, I thought they were more like more notes of the meeting. But if somebody would like to make a motion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Me. Laura.
I guess, so, excuse me, the meeting before that was in June. And I don't believe we've approved those minutes yet because we didn't approve any minutes at the August retreat. What was the June meeting?
June, let's see,
Should have,
June 3rd was the Wardsboro meeting,
we met in Dover though.
and then Dover was June 17th.
So I'll also need a motion to approve the June 17th meeting.
So moved.
Okay, so Barry moved it. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Carrie seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, old business, date for a fall retreat. Can anybody play the bugle? Little
Why?
retreat for us?
I can play with you. Yeah. I'm sure Matt could too.
Can you get on your phone? When do you guys want to do the fall retreat? Remember, the August retreat was supposed to be more of an operational retreat, like poor Matt helped them hire teachers. And we wanted the fall retreat to be more of a visionary retreat, looking forward 20 years.
Do you want to make it as part of, do we have, do we have time to have it within one of our regular school board meetings, or are we running out of
Well, I think we
time
would
for-
do it as a regular, if we want to do it during a regular school board meeting, we would make it the regular school board meeting would be
Okay.
that retreat.
Do we have enough time to do everything that we need to do, working on budgets, getting
Yeah,
ready?
because we'll have to, if we have to have an extra budget
Okay.
meeting, we can do that.
Okay.
But it's up to you folks. You guys are the board.
If we can keep it within our regular board meeting time, I'd
Okay.
prefer that just because it's built into the schedule.
Is he leaving us for good?
No, he'll
Oh.
be back.
Okay. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. We usually try not to meet the first couple weeks of September because school's starting, the administrators' heads are spinning enough, trying to learn all the new kids' names and, you know, whatever, water doesn't work or sewer doesn't work or roof leaks.
You've got someone to take care of that now.
Yeah.
Right.
So we usually don't meet the first Monday, which is supposed to be in Wardsboro. We could do like we could do the third Monday, meet for the regular board meeting in Dover or Wardsboro, I don't care, and then do the next one as like the retreat, so it'd be 2 Mondays in a row. But it would be, you know, a distinct and separate meeting.
So the 16th and the 23rd then.
Yeah, or isn't there 5 Mondays in September?
There are.
We could even do the last Monday, give a break for a week.
And then the next meeting is until the 7th.
Right, because then it's another week off.
That's a good idea.
So is that okay with people?
16th and the 30th?
Yep.
That would work.
The 16th I would want to be the regular board meeting though, just because that way if there's stuff to do, we can get it done instead of, so I would maybe recommend we do that one in Wardsboro. And then
16th.
and then the 30th, we'll do that retreat here because we did the one retreat in Wardsboro, and then that's kind of keeping everything.
What time? Okay.
Well, last time we did 5 to 8, and I thought it worked pretty good. And then we'll get Matt to, you know, slave over an oven again, because Tammy slaved so well in the hot sun.
Those were good sandwiches.
Those were.
Mhm.
She did an excellent job.
So 16th is going to be in Wardsboro.
16th?
Well, that's what we're proposing, but is that good with everybody?
It is.
Works for me.
Matt,
Yeah,
Tammy?
good.
I hope so.
Mondays are good for me, yes.
Okay.
And what time?
We
Peter?
can all in.
It's a done deal.
Okay, what time do we want to have regular school board meetings? Because there was a 7 o'clock floating around, there was a 6:30, we used to try at 6.
That's a good question, because I used to be following your meetings.
Right,
So,
so
6:30 is better for me, but I'm what you guys think.
6:30 gets us out a little earlier, but it still usually gives you time to
Not
get
falling
home.
asleep, yeah.
Is 6:30 okay with
Prefer-
people?
Not, doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
Yeah?
6:30 sounds
6 would
wonderful.
be great.
Yeah. Okay,
is
so we'll,
6 possible?
Is 6 better?
well, you two are the latest usually, so.
I think
I could
this,
do 6.
Yeah,
For
but
me,
you'll show up at
6
6:15.
How about for you, though? It's a bit of a
6
stretch.
o'clock to Woodsboro.
6 to you is war, I know, so
That's very
let's
hard.
do 6:30,
But-
so.
but-
6:30.
If you,
Let's do it 6:30, that way we're consistent, we're not changing
6:15?
things. No, do 6:30.
it's just that it is hard to
No, I
leave
know.
at 5 in
No, do
Brattleboro.
6:30,
Okay.
that's fine, I mean, we try to
Change
accommodate
my time.
everybody.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
all,
That'll be regular meetings?
regular meetings will all be at 6:30.
Okay.
The retreat, we will start at 5, and we'll do 5 to 8.
Okay.
Great.
And that's gonna be on the 30th, Matt, right?
At Dover.
Right.
30.
And then Tammy, you've got the middle meeting, so it's a little different, but let people know.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent, good job, folks.
That's in Dover.
The retreat, yes, on Thursday. Okay. Dover School Board members visit schools, procedure creation, VSBA model policy as a guide. What do you guys got for us there?
So A33 is the VSBA model policy related to board members visiting schools. I'll read it to you because it's, do you have it in your packet?
I didn't remember seeing it.
Okay, it's only a couple of sentences, so.
Okay, go ahead.
It says, it is the policy of the school district to encourage school board members to become familiar with their schools, its programs, and the needs of its staff and students. Implementation, I'm assuming these are procedures. Individual board members may visit schools periodically to expand their knowledge of school programs and staff and student needs. These visits should follow prior notification to the principal. Concerns raised as a result of the school visits by board members should be directed to the superintendent. And the superintendent's recommendation is that we adopt this as a procedure, as an administrative procedure, and not a policy. And that he asks for you to direct us to use this policy as a guide.
Yeah, so unfortunately, hang on, the board doesn't adopt procedures. Procedures are administrative. So, but they're usually based on policy. So I think we would have to have a policy first to allow you to do an administrative procedure. But, Rick, what do you think?
I think you're absolutely 100% correct. Could you read it again, Matt?
Sure.
Real quickly?
Well, can you do us a favor? Can you put it in writing for us?
You want to print it? You want to see it?
Yeah, and get it to us for next meeting.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think it's that huge an issue. You know, I think a lot of people come in because they have kids in the building. And if you guys, if either one of you ever have a request or you want to have a board member come in and see something, contact me, and between myself and Rick, we'll make sure we cover you guys until we get this all worked out. How's that?
Fair.
Peter, you got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just remember, if you go in the building, you're not a board member. You know, the board, you're only really a board member when the board meets. So if a parent comes up to you and says, hey, you know, I wanted to ask you why little Johnny got to get into the 3-year-old program and little Mary didn't, you know, it's talk to the administrator, and if you don't like their answer, there's a procedure that you see the superintendent, then you can bring it to the board, and it has to be warned. And then we'll kind of review that when we go over that policy.
Sounds good.
Okay. Invite Windham, should have said Windham County Senators to the board meeting, Windham Senators, I guess is okay. So back towards the end of the session, we discussed inviting Becca and Jeanette, thank you, to the meeting to show kind of what we've been doing with Act 46, because Becca was on education when this was passed, and she's very involved with us, and so was Senator White on the, you know, when we did our meeting up at, she couldn't come to the meeting when we formed the district, but she had come and talked to the schools ahead of time, so there was some tie-in, and I think we wanted just to show them what was happening, and also ask them to kind of leave education alone for a couple of years and let us kind of don't do Act, you know, 23, which requires more combinations until we get a chance to run a little bit and see what it's like. Was there something else, Laura, that I forgot to that we?
This was, Windham Central was pretty much, there was a lot of not good function happening around us.
Right.
And so that was also,
Yeah, show the good function that Windham
well,
Central.
not even
did.
show it, but just to make sure that the needs of a functioning district aren't drowned out by the needs of non-functioning or dysfunctional districts.
So I think we had asked them to come to a September meeting. Do we still want to do that, or do we want to see?
I thought Becca responded to you.
She did, she said just let her know, because we didn't give a date, because we weren't sure. So do we want to try to have her come to the Wardsboro meeting?
That may be tough.
Right, because I was gonna say probably,
Short notice.
well, that's almost a month away. I mean, we can do the first October
Well, I
meeting?
think we could ask her, yeah, for September, ask her in September.
Okay, and Peter, what was that date again, the 16th?
Yeah.
Yes, so the retreat meeting?
Okay, so I'll send an email out, and Rick, I'll CC you.
Sure.
And then we'll ask them for, what, 20 minutes, half an hour? So we are going to then, just so that we're not wasting their time, we just want to kind of go over what we've done since the formation of Act 46 and how along both Windham Central and so I may talk to Joe and see if he could come over to Winridge from
You can do whatever you want.
West River, just to,
Yeah,
Could
my
you-
suggestion was, we have a lot of function happening here,
Yeah.
and the needs in a functioning district may be very different than the needs in a dysfunctioning bunch of districts around us, and just to make sure that our needs were also being communicated.
let me,
Whatever you want to
let
talk
me
about.
talk to Bill and see if we can get them to come to the retreat
Yeah.
for Windham Central. That may be more appropriate,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
if that's okay.
It's not up to me, I want to be very clear.
No, but I mean,
I
this
talk
is-
to them all the time, and I might even.
If the retreat's open to the public, it's
But-
a regular meeting.
yeah.
You mean not our retreat on the
No, not
30th?
our retreat, the Windham Central
Larger.
retreat.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, because in that way it would be include Marlboro, who, went a different path.
when we get drowned out like Laura's saying.
I don't think you're being drowned out. I think you have other issues, other districts that have a lot of issues that are trying to get help with their issues.
Yeah,
And so you might as well just talk about what we need here, if there's anything that we need or what we want them to know here.
Well, I think we
That's
want,
my point.
again, we want to be left alone
in that
to,
case,
to kind of move forward for a few years to make sure it all works before
And I know they would love to come, I'm sure they would love to come, so.
we can
She
feed them
said she
too.
would, so.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Bill, and I'll work on that, and I'll let you guys know. Excellent. WCSU HR protocol about how to best add social media. Human resource protocol attached.
You have to take from a record check, right?
Yes. Just saw that, I have that right here. Okay, I think they're still waiting, I think Bill is still waiting. So there's a Windham Central Supervisory Union, and applicants shall make an appointment at WCSU to bring the driver's license, another form, identification, a passport will be the only form of identification needed. You have to pay $13.25 or 11 a quota if you're a volunteer, processing fee, and then Department of Public Safety bills them, and they get fingerprint authorization, fill out all the paperwork. Then they have to go to a Vermont law enforcement agency that does fingerprinting. I think Wilmington PD and the Sheriff's Department are the only two that do it. They charge $25. And then they submit it, and Carrie, I think you were the one that was asking about this.
I was, and it looks like Bottom is still in talks with the attorney about how to best add social media. That was the question that I had.
Can they allow us into their social media?
There's more of, are we checking that on applicants?
Okay.
Not just looking to.
So you're okay with the criminal record, this stuff?
I am, I mean, that's standard.
Okay.
What I was concerned about, if we were just looking for convictions, if someone was charged with an offense, that we would be very concerned about if they were going to be coming into the schools. We wouldn't necessarily know about that because it wouldn't be a conviction, but it would raise concerns for parents, community members, board members, might not want someone who, for example, was arrested for sexual assault involving a minor, who might have concerns and questions about, all right, what happened with that? And, social media, it seems like a lot of people are doing that as due diligence. College applications, is that something that we should be looking at? And that raised the concern, what happened in Academy School back in April and May. So I just wanted to know, are we doing that as part of River Valleys, of looking at applicants' social media?
And so, from what we're being told is that's,
We're
so
still
Peter, next
working on
meeting,
that.
we'll make sure that's on the agenda and that Bill gets us an answer, hopefully. Cool. Well, other old business, anybody have anything old and moldy? No? Out there, folks? Yes?
Just a quick update on the HR protocol.
Yeah.
Bill says that they're working with an HR consultant and an attorney to develop the protocols that we just discussed. They're meeting in the middle of September and they'll get back to you.
Okay, so it's probably gonna be October, but as long as it was brought up.
Yeah.
Okay. If nobody else has anything, I just want to recognize our buddy out there who got us this Municipal Partner Award in 2018, even though it's last year. And we get this really neat little thing, and Laura finally remembered to bring it because she went down because it was publicity. And she got her
I went to see
picture. But thank you, and it's because of all the videotaping that they've done. And we've actually, Bill does still, he uses it to see what's going on at our meetings, to make sure he's caught up, and it works out really well when the minutes say something and you're just not sure the flavor of it, so sometimes it's nice to watch it. Even though Peter writes the minutes like a well-written novel, sometimes it's always good to see the reaction of when people say something, so congratulations, everybody, thank you, and that was a good thing. So if there's no other old business, we're gonna move on to the new business, which our gentleman was here to see. So there's two policies. There's policy number F, or letter F, and number 32, that was Wardsboro's. And it basically discusses, and this was this was adopted back in 2001, and then it was reviewed in 2013. And it basically says you have to be, by September 1st, you have to be 4 years old to get into the 4-year-old program, and to get into kindergarten, you have to be 5 before September 1st. And that you have to let the principal know by June 15th if you want admission to the 4-year-old program. And then people are on the waiting list. Do you have anybody who didn't get accepted, Tammy? So we've been okay with numbers. That's just in case we get too many. Cool. Dover's is policy F13.2. And this was warned and adopted in 2012 and was reviewed in 2016. And it's pre-K, and it just says the 3-year-old program must be 3 before September 1st, 4-year-old has to be 4 before September 1st, and 5-year-old have to be 5 before September 1st. And they have, or the Dover policy had, there shall not be any early admittance of students who are born after this date. And that was because that had been hammered several times on us, people requesting that we do something, doing something different. So I believe the superintendent's office shipped us a model policy for River Valleys, and I just can't put the fingers on it. Thank you. I'll steal these. Okay, so he's giving us policy C35, which would be for River Valleys. And this one pretty much follows this one is almost exactly the same as the Dover one, and would be in Wardsboro if Wardsboro had a 3-year-old program at the time they wrote theirs. And there shall not be an early admittance of students who are born after this date. So what do you all want to do?
Laura has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry, go ahead.
So if we moved this date 1 month earlier, do you think that there's an educational issue if we moved the date to August 1st instead of September 1st?
Or,
Do you think we're like putting the kids in a precarious position? To most kids, do you think we would be putting most kids in a precarious position if we went from September 1st to August 1st? Developmentally is really my question.
I would say no.
No, yeah.
I would say no.
So here's what I mean, we have to pick a date. We have to pick a date, and we have to stay to the date. Because if we don't stay to the date, we will get pushed back, and eventually we'll have to pick a date. So we just have to pick a date. Why don't we pick August 1st? And then we will pick up a few kids, potentially, every year.
We'll lose a few kids every year.
Why will we lose kids?
Because you're going backwards. If you want to go
to
to
October 1st.
If you want to pick up more kids, you go October 1st.
Wait, sorry, it's not working, and everybody else is getting it, I'm not getting it.
September 1st is what we have now.
Yeah,
So if I'm born August, I get to go.
yeah.
If I'm born in September, I don't. If we move it to October, if I'm born in August, I get to go. If I'm born in September, I get to go. If I'm born in October, I don't get to go.
If it's September 1st,
Right now, yes.
right. Oh, right. Got it. Yes, sorry, I was
No, that's
wrong.
fine. I mean, I was thinking you were going August 1st because, school used to always start after September 1st, so I thought that's why they picked that as
Oh, I
the
see.
date.
So let's go to October 1st then. So, and pick up a few extra kids.
You could.
It's really one. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, potentially
So
we'll
my
pick
kid's
up
born
a,
October 2nd, you moved it from September 1st to October 1st, why don't you move it to October 2nd?
I would say specifically for the reason of school populations are diminishing, let's move it ahead a month and take advantage of potentially getting a few extra kids. And that is specifically the reason for moving it. Otherwise, I'd say just leave it at September 1st. We have to pick a date.
Right.
You can't move.
Some schools are December 1st, is that right? And, it seems kind of arbitrary. Is there a reason, you guys know developmentally why it was moved from December 1st for some schools? And was any of these,
I
any of
know
our schools
Dover, I know
ever-
Dover was September 1st because that's when school started.
Yeah,
So they figured they want you to be at least 5 years old when you walked in the building, when there was just kindergarten.
okay, that's why it's September 1st, that makes sense, so they were all the same.
And I feel like historically, it's been around that date. I mean, I remember growing up, it seemed to be hovering around
Some
end
places
of August, beginning of
January
September,
1st.
and
Yeah.
And then August, now it's school always seems to start in August. And again, I want to say, and I know it's a really difficult thing, but I think it's really progressive. And I go back to, that, Laura, you remember that video we saw of Dr. Ken Robinson there where, he does the drawings on the board and he talks about, how the education system was set up to train people to work in the factories.
That was a long time ago.
I know, but to me, it's that egg crate thing again, and, there are students who can excel, and I think we allow for that, but wouldn't we be starting to be more progressive if we looked at a more progressive way than just, throwing a dart at a board and picking a date? But I know it's a lot more difficult for us to do, but maybe that's something we ought to say, we ought to give but then you put the administrators in a tough position
Right.
too, because everybody loves this guy, he's a great guy, but the other guy comes in and he's, forcing his kid on them and his child really isn't ready. So it makes them in a difficult position too. I mean, if there was some way, you could put like a meat thermometer in the kid's ear, and it says, ready for third grade, 3-year-old.
There's a visual.
There you go, I'll use that one.
let's just stick to the one they do on the forehead.
Okay, yeah,
Much
they
less
put the
invasive.
strip. So, I mean, I don't, I'm almost, I'm tempted to, my thought was, we stick with September 1st, I don't get to you in one second.
Yeah.
We stick with that September 1st, but if we could get our preschool and our administrators, maybe over the next year to look at something that we can have that would be, if you meet these,
A screening of some sort.
yeah, and just make something that is not, it can't be, it's not like subjective, it's more very objective, here are the points that you have to make. And maybe we could work towards that. And the only reason I'm suggesting we save September 1st is because right now, that's how we've done it. So all the kids are in that kind of age bracket. And until we till we start to maybe get something a little better, we keep him kind of in that group. Let him, he can go first and you.
Well, I was along the lines of exactly what you said. There was a methodology to be able to say, you know, as we look at the development of the children, it's on a bell curve. And at the same age, some kids are, you know, before, and some kids are in advance of that. And I love hearing how each of you all seem to nod and say, if we have a student that has the wherewithal, the willingness, preparedness to be moved ahead, we're going to encourage that. So I think it would behoove you to have a policy that does allow for that testing out, if you will, because otherwise it's contrary to your thought. Like, if the child's ready and they want to be a part of that and are going to be a contributing member, you know, within that peer group, we shouldn't hold that student back if they are, you know, what. But at the same time, like you said, you know, my teaching is done outside of the academic environment. I'm usually on a ski hill, but dealing with 3 through 6 year olds and, you know, the parents who want that child to succeed, but the child's not really into it, the child's not going to succeed, you know, with whatever we teach. So I would just like, if there's a methodology, that would be a fantastic addition to the policy that you'll write.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't like the idea of putting the pressure on the teachers and administrators and having them determine whether or not, you know, it makes their job a lot easier to have a date. However, having said that, you know, maybe we could have a window, let's say, August 15th to September 15th, where if you're in that window, you could go to the school, make your request, and just based on a conversation, and give that an opportunity up to a parent to have that kind of a window of change. But other than that, I don't see testing or anything like that. That puts a lot of pressure on teachers, and I'd much prefer to put them in the proper class and then move them up, like we discussed earlier, than have that.
And I definitely buy that too, because I know it's happened in our building, and I don't see why it wouldn't happen in the Wardsboro building. So again, that does not mean that the child, although we said, hey, he can't go in the 4-year-old program, he's gonna go in the 3-year-old, but if they see that he's doing really well, they'll challenge him some other way. You know, that may work too. Anybody else?
I have a question for Tammy and for Matt. Do you do evaluations, like what you would do midway or mid-year to see how students are doing in pre-kindergarten? Is there an assessment?
So actually, the state actually requires us to do an assessment through Teaching Strategies Gold, and it is a very comprehensive assessment that the teachers do with every student. We do it at Wardsboro 4 times a year. I'm not sure how many times
Same.
Dover does it. So one typically falls in that October 15th date range, then again in January, March, and then at the end of the school year.
And if you were doing those evaluations mid-year and you saw a student who's in the 3-year-old program in either school, that where they really could be moved into 5 days a week, is that something where an evaluation that you're doing would consider something like that?
It could. It actually assesses the student along a continuum, so there's different bands per se. So if a student fell within the, say the top band in their age group or category, then yes, I mean the assessment would show that in the different categories that they're assessed on.
Thank you. I mean, you have to pick a date. And I like the idea of having whatever the date is, but not being able to kind of negotiate that date, because then it's going to be, someone's going to fall before or after the date, whatever we pick. But I do like the idea of trying to maybe assess if we're doing that naturally already with students and their needs, to look at that flexibility. If a 3-year-old could take advantage of a full-day program versus the half-day program.
And the difference that it is in our policy, they would start off in the 3-year-old program, and then we would see, because maybe the parent might say, hey, I'm really glad that they went in the 3-year-old program, because, you know what, it's too much. It's not that they're not smart enough, but they can't handle the full day without seeing mom or dad or whatever. So if that's a good thing, you guys are happy with that, then somebody should make a motion to warn for posting for warning the policy C-35 for River Valley Unified School District.
And within that warning, do we need to talk about that ability of
You just
the
warn the
teachers?
policy. No, because that's not a policy. You can't make a
No, I know.
policy to say the teachers have to. That's a procedure and that's educational,
And
and
they're
that's
doing
what
that
the
now.
administration does, and they're doing it now.
Mhm. Okay, so I move that we adopt the River Valley Unified School District Policy C-35 that was provided by the superintendent.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Rick Thorpe seconds it. Is there any further discussion?
October 1st. No? No?
Well, you can make an amendment to the motion.
Well, I don't wanna spend a tremendous amount of time if there's no interest in doing that.
I have some interest.
So,
So make a motion to amend the
okay, I
motion.
move to amend it to October 1st.
Are you gonna second that?
One second.
So let's discuss the amendment. So you wanna just move it to October 1st?
Sure. For the purposes of potentially realizing a few more students, solely for the.
Over here, you're gonna lose them on the other end,
For 1 year.
a million years down the road.
For 1 year.
Well, no, because
No,
the other districts are,
they're the same kids. You can filter them out the next year.
no. The other districts, you potentially will have people come to the district.
Oh, tuition students.
Tuition students.
Yes.
So what's the amendment again?
The amendment is to move the
That's
date from September 1st to October
We don't
1st.
have to do it yet. It's just,
And it was seconded by Dwight, we're having discussion.
Yes.
My only comment is it's kind of late in the year to do that, because now all of a sudden, there may be other students that you've opened it up for now. You created a dilemma for them, because their child now qualifies for the 4-year-old program. They never got the 3-year-old program, or they qualify for kindergarten, they never went to, when they were gonna go to 4-year-olds. So I would maybe, my thought would be that you'd wanna be careful with that one.
when would be the ideal time to make such a change, if we were gonna do that, taking that into consideration?
This fall.
To make the change this fall for next year?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would pass the policy
We
as
would
is?
pass this policy as it
And
is,
revisit it?
and then we can revisit it again, either later in the fall, or early in the spring. We can ask the administration to, is there some easy band they can put on the child's forehead that's gonna say, 4-year-old program, 4-year-old? And, maybe they can talk to their preschool people, and they may come and recommend, September 1st is the right date, because, look, we've had 3 students in the last 2 years that, we've challenged with more work, and we've,
Okay,
Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
I'm still voting for my amendment.
That's fine. Are we ready to vote on it? No other comments? All those in favor of the amendment, changing the date from September 1st to October 1st, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I got 3-2. I am not going to cast a vote. So the amendment dies. We're back to the main motion, which is the policy as presented with the September 1st deadline. Are you guys ready to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the vote passes unanimously. Okay, now we gotta go back to this gentleman. We don't have a policy, because we're just warning it. So he's requesting that his child, who's born sometime after September 1st, but before October 1st, to go into the 4-year-old program.
Otherwise, he's gonna be in the 3-year-old program.
Correct.
So, I have a September 7th child who has graduated now, that went to this school. And that was a long time ago. Wow, she is like graduated from college.
She's gonna start crying now.
No, I can't believe it was that long ago. So I appreciate the conundrum. I was assured then, and I've been assured by every administrator since then, including these two, that it is their job to take the kids from where they are and to bring them forward, no matter who they are or where they are, if it's ahead or behind. And so, for consistency, I would say we should stick with our policy at this point. And the expectation would be that your son would move forward, and the possibility for him to move into the 4-year-old is something that could be considered, or spending more time or something. I mean, we haven't done it, but it's something, so that would be, that's my thought.
So would you like to make a motion?
We're making a motion on this child?
Well, he made a request of us, so
Okay.
are we gonna?
So, for consistency's sake, I make a motion that we, what are we denying? His
Deny
request?
his request.
Oh, sorry, deny your request.
No problem.
I'm not-
Is there a second to that motion?
Sorry, I missed the motion.
The motion is to, although she understands this
Right.
dilemma, she is going to deny, her motion is to deny the request.
Got it.
And Rick, I think, seconded the motion.
Sorry.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I do just want to reiterate to you, if I did not believe that our administrators would take your son forward educationally, you would get, I would not make that motion. And
I
I
have
don't
full
believe
faith in
it
it
is.
as well.
You're making it really easy, huh?
And I agree with Laura, I mean, the administration has been really good about not, individualizing each student, amazing as they do that, and differentiating education, even starting at pre-kindergarten, and taking that into consideration so you don't feel like you're just stuck. So, I think I would feel differently also if you didn't have a program to actually enter into, but.
Agreed, there's a soft landing to be had.
So, but if you feel different as things go, I'd be interested in you coming back to, well, you'd be going back to the administration
And
to.
we're gonna be discussing it again in the future, so pay attention to the agendas, and we'd love to have your input.
Sure.
So even if you can't come, you can send a note or something, but. You guys ready to vote?
Yes, thank you for coming to us,
Okay,
though.
thank
I
you.
know that we're saying no, but thank you for asking us.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, sorry, sir. But you do get to go to a 3-year-old program. It's like the door prize.
Yeah.
The award.
And guys, I want to say that was a very, I think it was a very thoughtful discussion, and, there was a lot of good points raised. I think the administration has some stuff to think about, and, it's never, no policy is set in stone. Policies can't be varied by the administration, but the board can change policy. And if we're proven that we made a bad decision, that we can always change it. And that's on all our policies. Principals report, we have a written principals report. It's like 2 pages, no, 1 page. Is there, hopefully everybody got a chance to read it. Was it only 1 page? Yeah, just 1 page, right, Matt, Tammy? So instead of having them reread the whole thing, does anybody have any questions on anything that's in it? We're glad that your septic pump got replaced. We're on TV because I have a really good comment to make, but I can't make it. So I'm gonna make it now.
Oh, see, it just keeps paying dividends. It just keeps paying dividends to film.
Laura, we've been together too long.
I know, it's a long time.
I'm glad to see Carol Backus is back, even though you stole her from us.
She is, oh my gosh.
Gosh, you never forget how long ago was that?
She
Oh,
retired. We had a
that's
great
so
party.
awesome.
Long time ago.
I actually saw her last 2 Saturdays ago, and she was like, "Yep, I'm back. I only want to go for a little bit." They just sucked me back in. So, I know. What a nice lady. Okay, if there's nothing on the principal's report, nothing you guys want to enhance or talk more about, we're going to move on to the cabinet report, which is Bill's, and he's not here to answer for it. I think that's 2 pages or 3 pages, right? 4 pages.
Double double-sided.
Yeah. Do you guys have copies of this? You want? So really, he's not here, but it looks all good.
Looks like a lot, looks like they're doing a lot. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I noticed in this, in the principal's report, and I may have missed this at an early meeting, I'm sure I did, the breakdown of sections here, academic, everything under academic proficiency, personalized learning, high quality staffing, Can you tell me about that?
Sure, these are all aligned with the educational quality standards.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nothing else on the cabinet report? Matt, were you able to fill, just tell us, were you able to fill all your positions?
Not yet,
Okay.
but we are in progress.
And you're gonna bring us something in
I have
executive
something
session?
for you in executive session.
Okay. So do you want to talk any other hiring, or is it all the executive session, and then we'll?
I think there's not much I can give you in public session until I give you what you need to know in executive session.
Okay. That's when you want to get on the board, so you do an executive session, that's a lot of fun.
I don't know if you guys want to speak in the process or be your involvement or.
Well, I think that if you're gonna make a recommendation, that would be the time for them to speak, because we're specific on a specific person, so.
He's gonna make the recommendation in open session, or in
No.
executive session?
Yes.
So, I would like to say something, Barry might like to say something just about the process, not about the people.
Okay.
May I
yes,
say
don't talk
something
about the
briefly?
Person, yeah.
Yes,
No, that's
so, I
appropriate.
mean, I think it was, for last minute, having served on a couple of these, it was pulled together, I think, really well. Great process, and I was surprised at the caliber of candidates at the late date.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I think I would add is just the variety of, the candidates that,
Yes.
Well, they didn't just set you up by giving you one that was like stood out and that sort of.
they
not that-
were.
Or we'll bring it forward one.
Yeah. No, we had an administrative one time, and we got set up as a board because there was one person that was like here, and the other two were like, why'd you even bring them to us? And it was just, but I think Matt's done a great job, and, it's been
Thank
Matt, Tammy, and then also our administration, well, we've hired administrators since then too. It's been a little different. That was a long time ago. Pre-K maximum capacity. So I don't know why this is here, because you guys set the maximum capacity because the state tells you got so much floor space.
As well as group size.
Right, and
So,
then we can only put so many, aides or one-on-ones or, so why was that in here?
I think the reason this came up was we were approaching our maximum staffing as of about 2 weeks ago. We budgeted for staffing for 20, and we were approaching that, and we were getting a little nervous that we might be receiving requests for admission that would exceed our staffing capacity, so we would have had to come back to you to discuss whether you wanted to, what solutions you might like us to consider. At this point, we had a couple of families who were planning to move to town with pre-K, have bought houses in other towns, and so we're in the safe zone in terms of our numbers, so it's no longer
But, this is a good point, because in the past on Dover, we've always just said, take them, make sure we cover all our students and then fill in with tuition. If you're gonna go over the number by one, it's not worth putting that extra person in, because the tuition you get doesn't cover that salary. So we want to be notified of that. But this has never come up as River Valley, so I don't know what Wardsboro's done in the past. Have you ever had to bring an extra person in because you had?
the first year I taught, I had 25 students in my class. So yes, we did, and we hired a para at that point.
But then you got 5 tuition, or 5 students, it almost covers, it probably
Right.
pretty close covers.
Yeah, the breakdown is about, where do we break even?
I think we found
Seven, right?
7 tuition students was about the cost of the aide that would have to be hired in order to make it okay to have that overage.
Something that we maybe should consider too in our future discussion then, if you have if 7's the break-even number, and you have 5 in Wardsboro and 2 tuition people requesting in Dover, we may say that, yeah, you can tuition, but you got tuition to the Wardsboro building to make more economic sense for us. So that's just something, maybe we should have a discussion about that in the future. Or, I don't know if that doesn't make sense to you guys, or we may lose that tuition person, but again, it's better than saying no, it's at least giving them an option.
Yeah.
Do you wanna, should we have that as a discussion, do you think, during the retreat? Because that would be future.
Mary, sure.
Yeah.
Peter, can you make sure that's in the minutes that, for the retreat in September, we want to discuss tuitioning of students and creating a need to hire additional staffing?
Great.
And then that way we can maybe have that discussion. I don't think we need to have a policy, but
Yeah,
maybe we can just discuss a procedure that you guys could use.
that would be great.
And that way you don't have to try to get the board together. You guys can just work that out on your own.
Sounds good.
Is everybody good with that?
Good with that.
Wardsboro, you guys didn't have a policy, did you, on maximums?
We don't have a policy.
Okay. And we didn't have one in Dover either. Okay.
Just like you said, the regulations dictate
Right.
most of it.
Okay, cool. Opening school events. Wardsboro, Mr. Pancake, Ms. Pancake. Is she blueberry or chocolate or?
Find out.
Well,
What is that?
I would love to
New
come over
teacher.
and have pancakes. I don't know about popsicle on the playground. Under opening school events, it says
Yeah,
Wardsboro.
no, I see it. What is, what?
So we're having popsicles on the playground.
Yeah, who's Miss Pancake?
She's one of our new teachers.
Oh.
So we're welcoming families, and
Is that her name?
Miss Pancake is her name.
Oh, I thought you were making me pancakes.
No,
Oh, you had popsicles and pancakes. I didn't know if you put like a popsicle between each pancake and.
Oh, that's,
What grade is she, the teacher?
oh, that's fantastic.
And then Wednesday, August 23rd, first all-school meeting. Oh, so school doesn't start on the 22nd.
right.
That's a misprint. It's supposed to be the 27th.
27th, yes.
Yes. There was a notice that went out in the package for returning students, and then another notice that came out with the corrected date.
What's it scared?
Oh,
Next,
okay.
not tomorrow,
Yes.
next Tuesday.
Because the 22nd is not a Tuesday.
Well, I was gonna be there, and if I was the only
Yeah.
one, I would have
Good
said,
for your popsicle.
I know.
Are the dates on the agenda correct?
Pardon?
Are the dates on the agenda correct?
No.
No, it's August, so the popsicle on the playground is actually August 27th.
Okay.
But this coming Wednesday?
I think that's supposed to be the 28th.
Yeah, that's wrong too.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Wednesday is the first all-school
Alright.
meeting? Okay,
When's it first day of school?
First day of
Yes.
school, 28th.
that's why you're here to correct us.
Yeah.
And then just over, so you don't have any events planned?
So we haven't planned a meet the new teacher event yet, mostly because we haven't known what's gonna be. And we also will start school on the 28th, like Wardsboro. We do have our first all-school sing on the 30th. So,
Cool. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, tell your new teacher I did not realize that was her name, but I'm sorry.
What are you sorry for?
I just made an assumption that they were doing, like dressing somebody up like a pancake.
Sure, sure, it's
Never
not the
happened
first
to her.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's got better jokes than that.
Yes, much better.
So I think at the last meeting, Laura asked about this next one,
Yes.
was equity, working definition discussion. So I have that somewhere right here, which comes from VSBA, Vermont principals, and Vermont superintendents. Educational equity means that each student receives the resources and educational opportunities they need to learn and thrive. Equity means that a student's success is not predicted nor predetermined by characteristics such as race, ethnicity, religion, family, economic, class, geography, disability, language, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or initial proficiencies. Equity means that every school provides high-quality curriculum programs, teachers and administrators, extracurricular activities and support services. Equity goes beyond formal equity, where all students are treated the same. Achieving equity may require an unequal distribution of resources and services. And equity involves disrupting inequitable practices, knowledge and biases, employing practices that reflect the reality that all students will learn, and creating inclusive multicultural school environment for adults and children. So why did you want this? I forgot.
So I asked a question, how could we as a board know that we were providing equitable opportunities for all of our students?
Okay,
How could we kind of assess that across two buildings running two different programs?
so Matt, I'm gonna give you and Tammy, you guys can get together with Bill or however you wanna do it, or your staff. Why don't you tell us how we know that this is happening, what we can see, or what is being done to, I guess that's,
Just to ensure.
right.
I mean, and I appreciate, most of this, not all of this, here.
Hey, Tammy, you gotta do me a favor, you gotta go that way a little bit, because he's a big guy, and he's blocking.
No, you're moving.
Here, I'm gonna move next to that.
Okay, just because I look up, I only see Matt.
But now Dwight can't see.
It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a really good request, and so why don't you guys see if it's, tell us how we can do this. This is a definition, it said working definition, but I think this was adopted by all those groups, wasn't it?
Must be, they're on the bottom.
Yeah, well, I don't know, if there's gotta be something up top that's missing,
Or it could be their working, it could be their working.
working definition, but I mean, I think it's good for us to,
It's a good place to start at least,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, equity means every school provides high-quality curriculum. I mean, that's pretty, I think we've all been there, we've understood that. Support services, maybe it's a good time to kind of review what the support services. It used to be we had that 504 list, but then they changed that, it's not 504 anymore, I forget what it's called, but, this is what we do. We have the reading specialist, and we have this person, we have the counselor, so I think it would be a good exercise, and we have a month to do it. And it doesn't mean it has to be done.
Like when we're developing a budget. Yeah, exactly. How do we know that the budget is going to provide equitable opportunities for all of the kids? Is it because of our, structure? Is it because of our staff? I mean, what, and I don't know what the answer should be, but it feels like we should be able to answer. Do we feel
No,
good about
I think so. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
It's also isn't it also in our articles?
Well, then we would provide,
It's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, it's in
So,
our
the
articles.
States have it.
Right.
so is Act 16 in the Constitution too, if you want to believe our supreme legislator. Okay, so we're gonna work on that, that's good. I have to get off there before I go too far. I still am
Go
a
left, go
big
left.
fan of that. Okay, new business, administrators. Anything else new? Last chance for a month. You guys got anything new? Peter,
No, sir.
board?
I was just wondering if there was something that you were thinking of the fall for the administrators of joining both campuses together for I know you have two different open houses, but whether it's a fall concert or some presentation, being like, this is, starting now, it's gonna be the River Valleys, if you were thinking about doing some combined event between the two schools so that the communities would go to this one event where you have everyone there, parents, students, faculty, community members to, all be together. If there's a thought about planning that for the fall, because, the fall will come, be so quickly, and then all of a sudden it'll be winter, and we'll have snowstorms to contend with, and
I hadn't thought of a community event, but last year I noticed that Dover took a fall hike to Haystack, and we did a fall hike to Jamaica State Park, so I was thinking maybe as schools we could do an all-school hike.
Ooh, I got a good suggestion for you. Dover's got a trails committee that they're working hard on setting up trails.
Put the kids to work.
And no, not put the kids to work, but, if you talk to Andy McLean, maybe he could lead both groups, and you can do a hike in Dover this year, and then next year you can do a hike somewhere. You'll get your Wardsboro person who knows some of the trails out there are good places to hike. And maybe we can switch back and forth so that students can learn, about, hey, here's some neat things you can go see in Wardsboro when you go on trails, and here's some, neat things in Dover.
Sounds good. We are collaborating on a 6th grade
Oh, that's right.
book study and field trip this fall.
Yeah, I noticed in your principal report, you put a field
Yeah.
trip.
So they did it last year, last 2 years?
Last 2 years.
The last 2
right.
years we've done it. And they've gone to the Lowell Mills in Lowell, Mass. And they studied a book committee over the summer
Mhm.
and got together as a group. They tried some collaborative work over Google Hangouts and, using technology to get kids from the various schools in the district together to talk about the book. And then they did a trip to the mills. So they're doing that again. They're not going to Lowell
They're
this
going
year.
to
They're going to
Sturbridge.
Sturbridge. So they do that a little bit already. We haven't, Tammy and I have talked a little bit about concerts and things, but we haven't gotten together to nail anything yet.
Everybody good? Carry that, take care of yours.
And then one other suggestion, I know that you have the Dover School, we have the Dover School Group, the parents kind of running different activities during the year, and I know that you have similar, it's not a PTA, but,
It's called the Windham School Club.
okay, so same with the Dover School Club. I was wondering if those two entities maybe could share information so that maybe Wardsboro and Dover could be working towards similar events, like for example, we do the trick-or-trunking, maybe to combine that with Wardsboro and Dover so that you have one bigger event between the two schools, another way to bring, the schools together and people together, so.
And more candy.
More candy is always nice as well. But identifying some things that we're doing already, but maybe combining that between the two groups, so. And, something where the administrators, you're not having to do everything, maybe contacting the
Yeah.
parent groups and saying, hey, here's your colleague in the other campus to think about
Right.
doing programs together, dances or things like that. It's a savings of money and you have more people to take advantage of attending those events.
Good idea.
Less work for you, delegated to
Delegated.
parents and other community members, that, there are two groups, right?
That's it.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Just so it's in the minutes, we gotta get hold of Anita and talk to her about, she's gonna help us market the budget again next time around. So I think just kind of keep in the back of our minds and showing the minutes that, maybe the October meeting, we should get her there to discuss how she, wants to do. I think it worked really well, and especially now that we're gonna change again, that we told everybody things change, and now we've changed back for the first year. There's, at the last WCSU meeting, I think, Rick, you were there, right? The New Central meeting? Were you there?
That was there.
And
Okay.
that was.
No, it wasn't me.
Carrie, you were there?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So, school calendars are supposed to be based on the regional career center. Help me if I'm wrong, guys. And the one in Springfield is looking at doing a new kind of calendar where they're starting the beginning of September, but they're getting done like the beginning of June. And they're only having a Christmas break, a short one of less than 2 weeks. And they're only doing a March vacation. There's no April, May, February, January vacations. And this was a draft, but I think they supposedly have adopted it for not this coming year, but for the year after. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They've adopted it for 2019, 2020. The other school, the career center we align with in the Brattleboro school hasn't adopted this yet, but it looks like most of the career centers really like this, because with the snow days, and it's not just snow, but it's bad weather days, again, when did we get out of this year? We were late in June again.
We were earlier this
We
year.
were fairly early compared to the year before.
Okay,
That's
The year before was the 26th or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
This allows, so this is maybe the schedule, just be aware of it, because I don't know if you guys remember, but in Dover before, when they changed some of the winter breaks and they didn't line up with the Mount Snow being busy and stuff, we got a lot of grief about not having school, the parents had to make arrangements to do something with the kids while they were busy at work and stuff, so But,
So what are they proposing? Are they proposing longer summer and summer
No.
holiday?
no, what they're proposing is you get out a lot earlier, you get out the beginning of June, but they're proposing that the only breaks are, you start school at the end of August. I'm sorry, no, I believe you start school on the first or second of September, whatever that first Tuesday is. You get 1 day off in October, or 2 days off, you get, a 3 days off in November for Thanksgiving, plus a day on November 11th, must be Veterans Day.
Cut back on some of the holidays.
December, you get off a good week, or a good 2 weeks, almost. And then you have Martin Luther King off in January, you got President's Day off in February, and then you get a week, a 5-day vacation towards the end of March, and then there's no vacations until Memorial Day. You get that 1 day off, and then you're a week and a half later, you're out of school.
So is this what we're adopting for?
No. This is what Springfield's Regional Career Center has adopted for this coming year. It looks like other career centers are adopting that, or moving towards that, and our calendar is supposed to be based on the Career Center.
Okay.
So,
Has our calendar already been set?
for
been
this
set
coming
this
year is all set for this
Right.
coming year. But this is what the Career Center may go to, and that's what we're supposed to base ours on. So just be aware that that may be there, so I'm sure we'll get a chance to discuss it. And we have to adopt the calendar for Windham Central, so there'll be a discussion there too. But there's a pretty big change, there's less vacations during the year, but you get out earlier.
There was a good program on the radio today I heard on DPR about that exact subject, about extending or making the summer longer. And one thing they're proposing, a lot of the schools in Vermont wanted to make them shorter for something they call the summer slide, I guess is the term. And it was really interesting. And so they were trying to figure out ways to keep the kids involved during the summer with summer programs, or would it be better to shorten the summer in some ways. In some schools, I think even up in Burlington, tried to do this, and there was a revolt basically by parents because everyone wants to be outside and have their time with their kids. It was a great program if you guys want to catch it on DPR or on today. And so I would think extending the summer is not a great idea based on that slide for educational, unless there are activities available.
But we do have a lot of after-school programs that help that with students that are identified.
They talked about that, and they also said that boards should be engaged in the summer and try to keep some of these programs going as well. So I thought that was good for us too. We can talk about that maybe at a later time.
Peter, that's a good thing during the retreat, is the school calendar too.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think
Thank
so. Yeah, excellent.
And then we also got the remainder, they updated the WCSU meeting, so it looks like September 25th is going to be the school board retreat for WCSU. October 23rd, we'll have an executive committee for budget compensation. November 13th is a full board meeting to discuss budget. November 27th, hopefully vote on the budget. December 4th, if necessary, to vote on the budget, and then by February, we have to evaluate the superintendent.
Are you looking at, those are all future dates for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not for us, for those of us that
On the WCSU.
are on the
Super board?
WCSU.
Okay, you're talking about super board.
So I
Right, which is, as
definitely-
far as I know, it's Barry and I and
That's
you
what I'm used
I
to.
definitely
That's
cannot
do
do the 25th
of,
September.
You lost me after October 23rd.
pardon?
You lost me after October 23rd.
It's the same thing that you were given at the Windham Central meeting. Okay. That's fine, because that's a retreat. But that'll be when we try to invite the senators.
To the SU?
Yeah, isn't that what we just discussed?
Oh, we're gonna do it at the SU instead of here?
Yeah.
That's, as I said, I see them, I speak to them, I tell them what I'm thinking about very frequently. It's not about me.
And then just the last thing, and Rick had brought this up a year and a half ago, I don't remember how long ago. And I thought we had discussed it, so I'm gonna give this as an assignment to you guys. because this gentleman here, I'm glad he brought it up. I thought we covered all the policies we need to have. And the one thing we didn't do was, and I asked Bill for it, and I got the standard policy thing, which I didn't really need. What I was looking for was, what policies are there in Dover, and what policies are there in Wardsboro? If we could just get a list of all the policies, and then maybe each of you, or you can do it as a group, I don't care, however you think it's best. Maybe you can put an asterisk by the ones you feel are important that we should readopt as river valleys. So we've got all the required ones. We're gonna look at the school of choice thing, I forget the name of that policy, and we're gonna look at the transportation this fall when we do budget. But is like age of admission, is there another policy out there that we both had that we should be adopting as river valleys? So if you guys can send us the indexes, highlight the ones that you think we need, and then maybe we can put them together and we can work on them, do 20 minutes of policy at each, or 15, whatever it takes to get them done. Is everybody, and if you guys as a board member remember a policy that we had, that we should be bringing forward?
Residency.
I thought we did a residency policy.
We don't have a combined one. We each have the policy.
Okay, well, that's gonna be an important one. What about the weapons one? I mean, we're required to have a weapons policy, right?
Don't we have it?
There's a firearms policy.
Right, but that was what Rick had brought up, was in Dover's policy, we covered all weapons, like knives and,
Right.
so, again, let's do them, not trying to create a lot more work for you, but if we can at least get a list and agree on a list, and maybe what we used to do in Dover was, Matt would bring us a couple a month, and he would review them, make any additions, corrections that he thought, and then we could adopt them, and then the next month we do a couple more. And I want to do that with all our policies, because what tends to happen is policies get put in the book and we never look at them again. And I want to, once we get through this, I'd like to, every 2 to 3 years, go through them all. Not that we'll all be here for that length, but just so that the board is used to every month reviewing a couple policies.
So we have the lists.
Right.
Right.
The schools, so we'll talk about it with Bill and
Okay, so Matt and Tammy will bring that to us at our next regular board meeting.
16th,
No, the
the next regular one.
yeah, the 16th. Is that okay? I mean, will you guys, we gave you like 2 or 3 assignments to do. Are you gonna have enough time?
Yeah, we already have pretty much the,
Oh, and you know which ones you want us to see.
We haven't compared, I haven't looked at words
Okay.
yet. But
If you can do it, and it might even make, if you can make us a policy packet, put, one of these little folder things, and put the ones that you're suggesting, and both, if just one town or both towns had it, put those policies in there, and then people can at least review them and get a chance to read them, and maybe when they're bored, drinking their coffee in the morning or something. Cool?
sounds good, we'll pass it on.
Okay, then that's all I got, so let's go to,
Did you have a question?
yeah.
This is an administrative question for Matt and for Tammy. We had a Dover handbook. When you come into Dover School, you get your handbook, I'm sure Wardsboro. Are we doing a combined one, River Valleys, that outlines everything for both campuses? Or are we still doing a Wardsboro and a Dover?
It should be River Valleys, right?
This year we're doing separate though, right? We haven't created a combined one.
that's
So,
something
Peter,
that
that's
we
something that we should discuss at the retreat.
Combining agendas?
Yeah.
Combining handbooks.
Okay. I know that's a bigger project, but
Well, the other thing too is, we also have central office that we can task with some things too. Okay, so listen, folks, what I have written down is we're gonna meet September 16th in Wardsboro for a regular board meeting. September 30th in Dover for the retreat from 5 to 8. All board meetings will now start at 6:30. And then I have nothing else. There's no,
Do we need to make some sort of a motion on the age of admission policy to
We did.
post it?
we did.
Okay, so we've done that? Okay.
Yeah, remember that
So we'll
was,
just post it then.
she made the amendment.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Laura
sure.
made
that
an
we-
amendment. So, the other thing though is, which, a good point is, we used to, post it here and then we would look at the hole in the wall. make sure you guys both post it, one in each of your buildings or wherever else you post your, official notices.
It's posted here.
And then you just post in your
Yeah,
entry?
like a bulletin board as
Okay.
you walk in.
So just, let's make sure we have one of them to, because we should date one and initial it. So give me one, Matt, to date and initial, and then you can send it to, or give me two and I'll come up tomorrow. Are you here tomorrow?
Not until about 11 or 12.
Okay, if it's okay, I'll come up and I'll date and initial two, and you can get one to Tammy. Because I think you only had posted for 14 days, and we'll have a month.
Yeah, and then we'll want it, but it'll be a month because we're doing 2 meetings.
Right. Okay. Oh, I'll just do this one. Today is the 19th. There you go, Matt.
And here's a copy for your box.
There's two, one for each of you guys. Okay, so the last thing I have is an executive session for a contractual issue, and we will probably be making a decision when we come back. So if I can entertain a motion, for somebody to go into executive session,
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second, come on.
We'll give it to Barry. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And let's go over to the other classroom for a minute. Okay, so by unanimous consent, we're out of executive session at 8:20. I can't read the clock. Read the clock, Dwight.
What's that? 8:30, 29, I can't, 29?
8:29, okay. So, we just, in executive session, administration proposed a person to fill the 4th grade position for a 1-year contract. So we just need a motion to accept, motion for the chair to authorize the chair to sign contract on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Okay, Carrie made the motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Dwight hasn't done the second one yet, has he? Dwight seconds it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Cool. And Matt also informed us that we have another position that will be taking some maternity leave, and that he's filled that position in this building.
We haven't filled it yet.
Well, he's got a process for filling it, but that's an administrative function, and the board just will be aware, but not have any say. Everybody okay?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we're gonna give the motion to Barry and second to Carrie, because it kind of rhymes, Barry and Carrie, but we should change your memo to K-A instead of K-E. Everybody say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We're out of here. Thank you. So we got a month.